Hello everyone and welcome back to Rebel Brick. We're not working on our farm today. I'm still looking for some of my pumpkins and stuff like that. So I figured I was working on one of these shuttles. Actually, it was this one in particular. As you can see, I have two of these sets. I really like the shuttle design. I'm sure I've mentioned it already before. I'm really a big fan of a lot of the science fiction genres. I did grow up watching Star Trek as well as Star Wars. I love both franchises. I grew up watching Buck Rogers, which I have one of those ships floating around here somewhere. But today I was just going to look at some of the ships that are from the Disney Star Wars era. So, kind of as we go along here, first and foremost, we'll cover the shuttles, and then we'll kind of go through each one. And you don't see it very well right now, but I'll bring it into view a little bit more. This out of the series is actually one of the older ships that I have, and we'll just kind of go around here, seeing some of the goods, the bads. These are still available today, as well as these little TIE fighters. I think these little TIE fighters are really nice in comparison to these. I just consider these as an older model, and as they upgrade, they get bigger, a little bit bigger, more power, because weapons get better. They want better engine speeds and all that stuff. So I look at it as a progression. So this is from Andor. Like I said, this is still available. I just picked up a second one. I really like the shuttle because, to me, when I look at it, it's almost like when you're watching Star Trek, or even if you take Star Trek in like the Star Wars universe type thought of, you're going to need some sort of small transports to move people down. Now, they use this for not as an Imperial transport, but actually as a this is like their civilian police corps transport. So the cockpit opens up on this, and then these open up right here. So this is done. Actually, I have them identical on both. I didn't know if I had the pilot in there or where I had the pilot, because it's been sitting on a shelf for a little bit. And then this is the speeder that you actually see Cassian Andor using for at least one episode. I think it's just briefly in one episode, and he is being chased by those Imperial police officers. For a small shuttle to say you're only transporting six troops or 6 personnel or something, this is a pretty nice design in my regard, or the way I look at it. So we have one person, a pilot. They can take care of everything. I don't know if you're really going to have one person doing all the gunnery, because as I show you here, we'll close this up. If I had 4 people here, I'm going to guess one of these people are going to take care of this turret. Because as we look at it, these wings fold down, kind of nice, reminiscent of a lot of the things that we've seen out of Star Wars. We do have a nose cannon, so I'm thinking our pilot right here with our dusty windshield here is going to have this cannon to shoot. This rotates around, so I'm going to guess one of the people in the back are going to take care of that. It's kind of nice that this opens up here. The only downfall I really see with this is in the back. As this comes down, of course, you have to make some exceptions because you're trying to support all this, and a lot of these plates are sitting sideways, so you really need the supports. And I'm not trying to disagree with any of that, but it would be kind of nice if you could kind of walk through this, because obviously these aren't going to open up in reality. So as the person, or as your shuttle lands, that ramp is going to come down, and your troops are going to come out of this ramp. To me, that seems a lot like a Star Trek type idea. I usually keep this cannon back. We have the 2 shooters. You've heard me say it before. I'm not a big fan of the shooters, mainly because I don't like shooting things across the floor or whatever else. I really understand for the kids, though. it's probably a bigger thing for them, and that's fine. It's just me personally. I don't really care for the shooters. I do like the cannon here, to see that, you know, we do have one turreted cannon, so if somebody's trying to sneak up behind you, you can try and defend yourself. Even if it's a civilian police or whatever else, you can do that. This is this ramp. It's that click kind of step mechanism, so it works pretty good. So if you want to have it down just a little bit, especially if I'm trying to do like a comic or something like that, if I want that down and I want it down a little bit more or whatever, I could do that. Stop motion people, I'm sure that they really like that idea. The wings folding up, so that way it takes a little less room. I admit, you know, I was in the Army. We didn't have to worry about all that room in the Army. If something took up extra room, it just took up extra room. We have plenty of room on the ground. But when you talk about ships and in our real world, you know, you equate it to like being on a Navy ship or something like that. Room is always a very big commodity. So to have these fold up, I get it. It works good for me. So I don't have any problems with that. The speeder is pretty good. I think I might change these guys up a little bit so I have some different people. To say that, you know, it's just a common speeder, because I believe Cassian had actually stolen that speeder. It's been a little while since I had watched it. I'm going to move these off to the side. So having an extra speeder like that, hey, that's perfect for me. I don't have any issues with that. I really like the shuttle because, you know, even though I don't really I look at the Disney Star Wars as a alternate timeline. I'm willing to watch it. Our current show right now is Ahsoka. There's a lot of people talking about it. You can listen to them. I think it's fine for a start. I'm hoping it speeds up. We'll see where it goes. You know, that's not a problem. Now, this being available right now, this is a very inexpensive TIE fighter. So I really like that idea. I've got two of these, and the fact that they still have this opening up like this, that works pretty good. We have enough room for a pilot to get in there. It looks great. I don't have any real issues with this. Just being a very basic TIE fighter. The original TIE fighter really only had one cannon on it. The TIE twin ion engine had a very basic start to it, but you have to look at it in the regards. We're going to get the E-Wing. If I remember correctly, originally the E-Wing, and I'll be very happy when I get it, it was a cheaper alternative to the X-Wing. Okay, close to the same capabilities, but cheaper, because they could actually manufacture this stuff. I don't remember what the speeds were for it. I know the Jedi kept using different variations of the X-Wing, but the New Republic had actually switched over to E-Wings, and then they had some other stuff. You know, when you're trying to police how many different worlds, you have to come up with some cheaper alternatives. You can't always throw out the best things in those regards. Now this, in the movie, it was dead slow. It made no sense. To me, this would have to be a lot faster. I know it is a little dusty. It's been sitting on a shelf for quite a while. Let's see, this has to open up. I know it does. Oh, there it is. I'm just trying to open it up incorrectly. And this, I believe, this is for the bomb part, because it actually has bombs in there that will fall out. So that's what I'm looking at. And this pops up because this is a playable area. So we have Admiral Holdo in here. We have a couple different resistant troopers. He's a rear, I'm guessing like a rear gunner, because this is some shooters, so he'd be here. He'd be with the main, more main guns. And then we have a tail gunner here, as well as one on the bottom. The cockpit opens up pretty good. I want to say, I think I even picked up a second one of these because I really love the idea. I'm a big lover of getting all the different types of ships in that I can possibly get a hold of. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not, It just all depends on how things go. But, okay, so we have a doubled up cockpit. I believe, because when you look at this and you see it in the movie, I think that is a fairly big cockpit. So I think I could see somebody trying to take this whole ship and later on try and convert it into a transport. Just lose the whole bomb bay and all that, or maybe expand on the bomb bay and put different levels in there, so that way you can turn it into a transport. On the inside here, and I don't know how well you can see when I was turned, I mean, we do have some stuff up here, so yeah, you could easily turn that into something, whatever your imagination kind of comes up with. I'll pop that back on here, and then we'll try and see what we can do for tipping this over. It is loaded. Okay, now remember the bomb bay opened up somewhere down here. It's been a while. I think, yep, there it is. Okay, so it's this button down here and it'll launch them. So oops. The bombs, I've seen different things, people trying to argue one way or the other about them. It doesn't really bother me one way or the other. Like I said, to me, I like the different idea of the ships. For the way the bomb bays are, I would say more for like atmospheric bombing. Is there possibilities out in space? It's all imagination. It's science fantasy. You just make fun out of it. Do whatever your heart's content. Unfortunately, we try to bring our own little lives in the real world into a science fantasy world, and even Star Trek at times. As much as we try to bring all the technology and everything else, it's still a story-driven. It's still in a way a science fantasy. Now this is the First Order TIE Fighter, and of course I don't know if it would actually be a TIE or not. Let me close this up. We got room for two people. This is reminiscent to one of the other TIE fighters that they did before they started making the bombers and everything else. The original TIE Fighter, a lot of this was expanded by West End Games. And when I find this out, and to know that I have been a big consumer of their material, they went to George Lucas and they got the okay to make the role-playing game. And when they did the role-playing game, they gave creature names to everything. The fact that they gave more backstories and everything else, like Greedo, and I don't know why my mind loves to do this, but for whatever reason my mind just does not want to say what race he is. They're the ones that came up with the race. He made the characters. Star Wars is just really watching a small group of people through their adventures. It's not taking in account for everything. So we have to look at it in that regard. And then we have a back door here. It is only a TIE Fighter twin engine. We do have a cannon here that's a bigger cannon. As we flip it upside down, they had a cannon underneath. So that's our nose cannons right here. We have the side cannon here. I believe that's probably, it doesn't want to flip around. They had like a missile launcher or whatever else, and that's what Finn was using. I don't have a problem with this. This is pretty good. With more robust engines, better shielding, I'm guessing right here. I don't know if this would actually be able to go in hyperspace, because originally TIEs did not. And that's when we came up with specialty ships. So that's what this is. This was from Rebels. So this is taking the TIE, and this is actually supposed to be a prototype to what Darth Vader had. So this is the prototype to Darth Vader's TIE X-1, which had a ×1 hyperdrive on it. So I love the design with the wings. The fact that you're folding the wings up so you can store it into a rack. You can store more of these maybe than what you can even of a standard tie, because when you look at it, I mean, just even if you were to say that this was your standard tie height, you can collapse this and then you can actually get more ties fitted in there. The problem is more expensive because you're now going to have a hyperdrive. I believe this one would have had a hyperdrive of 1.5, not a 0.1 that they had for Darth Vader. So this is going to go a little slower. It is a smaller set of wings on here. It does not have the solar panels on there. So that means that you're going to have to keep fuel. So that's probably what's going on in here a little bit. With this being going back for the hyperdrive, it does make some sense. I really had loved this idea, and I know I have two of these. I got another one put together. When I find the ships, if I can, I usually like to get a couple of them. My hope is when I do get a city going, because I want to get a big town and I want to get a small town. The small town is going to be whatever it ends up being. We're definitely going to have a farm if I can. Maybe I'll expand on the farm, have more crops and stuff like that. I just couldn't find the crops tonight, so we're working on this and not that. And because I couldn't find the stuff, I decided to put the other ship together, which is why we're working on this tonight. And I'm kind of going through this and my thoughts. I like the idea here because, you know, we can get a bunch of these. But yes, if you're trying to protect an area, trying to have something that's a little bit more expensive, you're probably not going to buy as many of them. And they use these for the Inquisitors. So I believe if I open this up, no, I do not have the Inquisitor in here, but this does open up just like the others. So I can put the Inquisitor in there. I guess I'm going to go on a rant here, so I do apologize. Because, you know, watching the Ahsoka movies, some of the things that have been said and some of the things that they did on this. One of the things that was pointed out right after they had aired it, Dave Filoni, big Star Wars geek as he is himself, he had fired a missile from one of these ships and tagged onto the Phantom. It actually landed onto the Phantom. That missile was actually created by West End Games. So he's got the West End Games book. So if you're watching any of it, keep in mind the same West End Games Star Wars that I am using in my role-playing game. That's the same place that I think he's drawing some of his information from. And at that point, yes, anyone could become anything. You can have someone that's never been a Force sensitive become a Force sensitive. It takes longer. So I know people are kind of complaining about it. When I saw what he's doing, I kind of have a feeling he's taking it from West End Games. This is his fan film. His homage or ode or whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But his take on what George Lucas had created and more or less rolling the dice and creating his shows, and he keeps using his characters because he knows it's his storyline. We'll see where he takes his storyline. Everybody loves their own story. It's his story, whether you like it or not, whether you watch it or not. I have no quarrels with that whatsoever. But if you do watch it, see what he does. See where he takes his story. He's brought us some very interesting designs with this. I know others have come up with some different stuff or whatever. Yeah, I'll kind of agree with some people on some things here and there, but I also know what they've done in the extended universe and how things have kind of gone from there. And it's up to you to decide really what you want to accept as your canon for Star Wars. Everybody has their own view, and I respect that. I really do. And we can argue that or debate things left and right. And even if I don't fully agree with someone, you know what? I respect their opinions because they're entitled to their opinions for their reasons. And I'm willing to listen to people about that. So, I really don't have much else for this, but I do ask everyone that's watching, I'm trying to figure out what kind of a house to make. And somebody had mentioned to me personally when I kind of told them about the farm, Star Wars had kind of done some small pod homes. So I was thinking maybe pod homes, or maybe I find a current Lego set. Right now at my local Walmart, the house from from Up, I almost said home, but the house from Up is actually on clearance, and I was kind of debating whether or not I'd want to do that as a farmhouse. So if you feel so inclined, give out a suggestion. I'd be happy to read it and take a look and see what everyone thinks, and we'll see what wins out, what I can and can't do. I kind of like the idea of trying to make little pod homes, because they had done that in one of the Star Wars episodes. I just don't know exactly how I would go about doing it offhand. But I'm willing to entertain anything, even to give it a shot and see how it works out. So with that being said, thank you so very much for watching today. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful day, and keep bricking.